Good evening, and welcome to Mindful Live 502. I am your host, your co-host, Nathan Springer, joined by the beautiful host this evening, Leora Louise Springer. Say good night. Alright, and we are here in the beautiful Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. It's the 16th of the 6th month in the year of our Lord 2025. Welcome. What's the good? Alright, tell the people good night. You got to run along and go sleep. Say good night. Bye bye. Yay. What are we pressing there? Hey, don't press that. And we're back. Nathan, do you think the government allowed the US to try arming Venezuelan rebels from Trinidad? I don't think that's an impossibility. I'd put it that way. Hey. I don't think that's an impossibility. That's how I'd phrase that. I don't think that's impossible. Once you're on the inside, make sure you hit that like button, double tap the screen out there on TikTok. That's how you hit the like button out there. Abdul, that's a very good point. I thought of that too, because our new government shows themselves very excited, seemingly very willing to get in the good graces of the United States. And the United States, I think, is regularly willing to act outside of the commonly accepted legal framework. It's not against their view to do things like that, so it's not impossible that the US attempts to use us as a launching pad. I think, though, it would be in our best interest to kind of stay out of those activities, the proverbial cockroach that doesn't belong in the foul party, those kind of guys. We could rest and relax out there, allow the fouls to do what the fouls do, and we chill in the corner. Nothing too drastic, nothing too excitable. Yeah. As neutral as can be. All right, listen, I found this story very interesting, so I am going to jump in and take a little listen of this. Let's see if I could get the audio right. All right, get you post. Let's see if we can hear a little of this interesting stuff.
Quoting from it.
Senator, to the best of my knowledge, we do not maintain any genetic information.
It says, even if you choose to delete your account, we will retain your genetic information, date of birth and sex, even if you choose to delete your account.
Mr. Seal Savage, if I could just start with you. So how many customers do you have approximately?
Between 14 and 15 million customers.
Between 14 and 15 million. I think you told Senator Britt just a minute ago that a goodly number of those are minors. Is that correct?
What I said was I don't have the number of customers.
You have the genetic data of a good many minors. Is that correct?
We have genetic data for a particular number of minors, and I will be happy to provide.
People under the age of 18. Is that correct?
That is how I'm defining a minor.
So they give your customers, I just want to make sure I understand your business model. Your customers give you their genetic information for you to run various tests on. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
And I mean, that's pretty sensitive stuff, isn't it? Somebody's genetic information. Is there anything more personal than that?
I would agree with you, Senator, that genetic data is sensitive information.
And so now you're just going to sell all of it? 15 million people, bunches of kids, maybe millions. It's just going to be sold in the open market?
As Senator,
I suppose it would at least be the parents that signed up with children. It's not like children would have necessarily signed up on their own. I suppose that's parents who would have been doing those tests on children. I wouldn't doubt that it could have had some paternity tests in there. That would be a feasible use for that.
The good news, as I mentioned, is that the two bidders or buyers for the company, one is Regeneron, which is
That's the big pharma company? It doesn't make me feel any better.
Is a large pharmaceutical company.
All right, so you're gonna take 15 million Americans' genetic information and you're gonna sell it to somebody, and your message to us is today, trust us, it'll be fine.
And that is why I was agreeing with Abdullah. I feel like the business plan for this was always to sell it. Like, when you think about who they're selling it to, if you're selling it to a big pharmaceutical company, if you going to sell out genetic information to a pharmaceutical company, what could possibly be the motive behind a pharmaceutical company wanting all of these people's genetic information? What could possibly be the motive?
Maybe it's a big pharma company. Maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe they'll treat it right. I thought your privacy code, your privacy commitment said that consumers had a right not to have their information shared with anybody else without their consent. I mean, I've got your privacy statement right here. It says that without their consent, you can't share their information. You're about to sell it.
Senator, that consent is, essentially for,
not real.
Not share for research purposes, and we are not selling it for research purposes.
So when you tell the consumer, give us your personal information and we'll take money from you, and we won't give it to anybody without your consent, it's not real. It just means, maybe kind of depends on the day.
Senator, I will say that our customers' data is their own. They have the right at all times to access that information. They can edit it.
Well, sure they can, but you're about to sell it to who knows who. They can't control it. You said to Senator Moody that consumers have complete control of their data. Complete. How can they have complete control if you're about to sell it without their consent?
Senator, they can delete that data anytime up until the sale and after.
Oh, okay. They can delete the data. Have you fixed the ability of customers to go on your website and delete it? Because right after you announced your sale, your deletion page went down. I hold in my hand here an article from the Wall Street Journal. 23andMe's site goes down as customers struggle to delete their data. Can they even get onto your site to delete their data?
They can, Senator. And
you fixed this?
That was an issue that, yes, we fixed immediately after.
It's up and running now? Customers can go on?
Customers can go on and they can delete their data.
What happens when they go onto your site to delete their data?
When a customer logs into their account at 23andMe, they go to their settings page, and there's a section there where just click delete my data. It confirms that they want to delete their data, and it's deleted automatically.
Is that true? Let's take a look.
Okay.
When they go onto your page,
it is actually interesting when to see some of these committees where the questioning looked like, there was some research done in this. There was some research. He's drawing this man into the trap, evidently drawing him into a trap.
they get an opportunity. It says permanently delete the data. So they click the button that says permanently delete the data, and then they get a notification that says your account is no longer accessible. How do they know if they can't access their account anymore? How do they know their data's been deleted?
Because we send them a notification that their information has been deleted.
You send it once, and how long does that take?
Our policies state that, we will delete their data within 30 days, and in most cases, it is automatic and happens much quickly.
And when you delete it, it's deleted. It's gone forever.
All the genetic data is deleted forever, and yes.
Really? Because that's not what your privacy statement says in the fine print. Let's read it.
With AI these days, AI, I think, make a lot of these privacy statements actually readable now. You could throw some of these 1,000-page privacy statements into an AI and tell it search for XYZ, whatever you're looking to search for in the privacy statement. So hidden under thousands of layers of legal language isn't actually much of a get out of jail free card anymore. I think it's swiftly disappearing. Abdul says, I don't care what part of Africa my ancestors come from. My good. Personally, I wasn't that curious. And I mean, I would like to know, because it's not only Africa I came from, to see the spread across the whole world would be interesting, but not that interesting. Not 23andMe levels of interesting.
What your statement says is, we retain personal information for as long as necessary to provide the services and fill the transactions you've requested, to comply with our legal obligations, resolve disputes, enforce agreements, et cetera, And then it goes on, 23andMe and or our contracted genotyping laboratory will retain your genetic information even if you choose to delete your account.
Senator, 23andMe, it does not retain any genetic information regarding the consumer once they delete their account. We do.
It says right here that you will retain genetic information, including date of birth and sex, even if you choose to delete your account. This is your privacy policy. I'm just quoting from it.
Senator, to the best of my knowledge, we do not maintain any genetic information.
It says.
Poor fella. Imagine you sitting down attempting to say, sir, we paint all red. And your company's statement written in black and white is we never painted any in red. Like, what an indefensible position to be. What an indefensible position to be in. So we don't delete, we do not keep any data. Your policy statement says you keep all data whether the customer deletes it, but so we don't, but your policy says it. Imagine that. Imagine that. That's where 23andMe is at right now. So those who found out where all 23 pairs of chromosomes came from, you got that information and you're happy with that information, I'm happy for you. Just so you know now, it's highly likely that some pharmaceutical company is now going to own your genetic information. And who knows what they're going to do with that? Who knows what? Next thing you see, 15 years down the road, they're offering replacement organs, human organs, perfectly genetically matched to you. And not for you to know they're out here making your clone and wiping them out for their heart and lungs. They have cloned versions of you, just harvesting organs out of them. Yikes. Yikes. I hope the family tree was worth it. That's all I can say. I hope the family tree was worth it. I saw also we had several cases of people using their pew-pews in self-defense. So the Matrix then, can my clone come pick up some shifts? I'm tired. Listen. Lazy people are gullible to those systems. They just should forget about it. Just sign your life over to the system already, because if you're lazy, you're dead. Firearm experts warn gun owners, be careful when confronting criminals. Security and firearms experts warned that there could be serious legal repercussions for owners of legal firearms if they are not careful in their response to criminal attacks. In the space of 3 days, there have been 2 incidents where firearm users, license holders, defended bystanders from armed attackers. On Thursday night, 2 bandits who tried to rob the NP gas station near the Maritime Roundabout Barataria were confronted by a licensed gun owner. One of the bandits shot at the man who returned the fire, hitting both men. They were taken to the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex where they were warded under police guard. Investigators found 11 spent 9mm shells at the scene. Homie looked to make sure he hit when he hit. I don't need to know what part of Calcutta my grandson come from. I like roti. That's enough. Yeah, I mean, those things, I am curious, but as I said, not that curious. Not that kind of curious. Not that level of curious. Early on Saturday morning, a security guard at a bar on the southern main road tried to break up a fight between 2 men in the parking lot of the business place. One of the patrons reportedly pulled out a knife. The guard told the man to drop the weapon, but he continued charging towards the patron. The guard pulled out his licensed pistol and shot the man. President of the Estate Police Association, Derek Richardson, said while private security officers had a right to defend themselves and those around them, they should avoid using excessive force in subduing threats. He said FUL holders, including security officers, should be aware of the threats they face before confronting criminals. You must start by assessing the entire scenario, calling on the person to stop or desist, and if they don't obey, they have a split-second decision to make, he said. Well, to me, we see that there can be benefit. There can be benefit. And here's speaking in regards to the government's idea of expanding access to firearms and stand your ground legislation. When I look, and I saw recently, I saw multiple times, but the latest one I saw was somewhere in Point 14. Some bandit went in there and they caught him and had him with some good licks passing. And to me, that's the idea. That's what firearms would do to a greater extent. It makes sure that the force advantage is on the home team. I want the home team to have the force advantage. That's what I want. I want when bandits go out at night, it's not even a 50-50. 50-50 is too high. It's a 80-20 chance you do come back home. That's what I want. I want banditry to be an extremely risky job. Yes, Triniman Brad. Just make the place open carry, no more concealed carry. I don't know about that. Like personally, I don't mind remove all the gun laws to some extent, but I don't know if open versus concealed will necessarily make it safer. Richardson said there were also concerns about situations where holders of privately issued FULs use their licensed guns to work as armed security officers. He warned that this was not the best practice, as firearms issued to a private citizen should only be used to protect themselves if they felt their life was threatened directly. For this reason, security officers should use the firearms provided by the company they work for, which is issued with a firearms user's N certificate. The FUL is really for your protection, or if you're in a situation where you can protect someone, there are provisions for that, but it must be proven that you had no other choice. But there are certain liabilities involved in that. You're not supposed to be using your personal firearm to carry out a commercial act, Richardson said. if you want banditry to be risky, then we have to look at politicians. No, if I want banditry to be risky, we have to arm people so that bandits find it very difficult to get at those people. You know, I am all for solving systemic issues, but I despise the people, the thinking that removes responsibility and accountability and finger pointing from individuals always in exchange for systemic issues. So this girl is a OnlyFans baddest 3 or 4 because of the systemic issues. The system, it's difficult to buy a house and relationships aren't what they used to, and there's a divorce. Like, give me a chance. Yes, there are systemic issues, but if you decide to do what you do, the consequences on you also, because everyone faces the same system. So I'm not looking to the politicians necessarily. I would like primarily to be able to make it risky for the bandit all on my own, before I have to beg a politician to help me out. I would like to be able to make it risky for bandit man all on my own. That's what I'd like. And then, if and when bandits start getting that 80-20 survival rate, then the government says, okay, now we're going to do systemic changes to make sure banditry stops. Well, more power to the government. But I'd prefer not to have to depend on that for my life. You know? Home team advantage. I guess once the gun owners act responsibly, all will be well. Yes, all will be well once they act responsibly. And I mean, the point that I belabor so many times, the most irresponsible people right now in our society are already armed. They're already armed. So what are we even beating up about the responsibility of the owners? I mean, the guys who have it right now aren't the most responsible guys. And some of them have 6 children living in one apartment with them and the pew-pew. And there's 6 indisciplined, bad-behaved children in the one apartment. Still don't manage to get their hands on the pew-pew and cause ruction. I think the PNM government, and by extension the status quo leadership, the elites of this country, are very concerned about letting the general public have wide access to firearms. I think they are very concerned about that. I think they never had intention for that to be the case. They are worried about such. The truth is, and we may yet see that to come, but a population that is fully armed is a different kind of population to manage and govern than an unarmed population. The dictates and commands that come from the top have to be with a softer, more convincing tone to it. If you have an armed population in Trinidad and Tobago, the armed population would be more than our regiment. If Arima wanted, Arima could give the regiment battle all on their own if there's an armed population. So you basically have to get Arima to agree to do what you want them to do. My biggest concerns are just that they will get into the hands of mentally ill people. What's the mental illness rate in the police service? What's the domestic violence rate in the police service? With everything comes a bad as well. The policies need to be thought through carefully to mitigate. I agree. There's a balance. The thing I regularly say, the thing I keep saying, one issue that without a doubt, there would be issues. One area there would be issues is domestic. Domestic issues would be different because where some people lose control and they get frustrated and use fists, there would be other things to use. Domestic issues. And the reality is domestic issues are often so heightened emotionally that it's not like people are thinking this through and reasoning it out in the first place. So there's a problem there. But as I regularly am quick to highlight, to throw the police under the bus as usual, the police as an occupation have some of the highest incidents and regularities of domestic violence, and they are already the armed ones. So use that information as you may. And other than domestic issues, self-harm, out in your own lights, that kind of thing, yeah, that will be an issue. Because this makes outing yourself very easy. While occasionally in Trinidad, more than you may like to hear, there are occasions of a guy ending up in the hospital and them pumping the contents of his stomach and he living afterwards, and he and the woman make up and all too. There are incidences like those that happen where because the final solution that someone chose wasn't as final, they were able to have a second, third, fourth chance. But with the boom boom stick, that final solution becomes real final real quick. It becomes real final real quick. Yeah. The green Kool-Aid, sometimes it doesn't do the trick fully. So people get a chance. But boom boom sticks, they do the trick. And oftentimes in that self-harm and domestic violence, where those two, the Venn diagram for those two, where they overlap, where self-harm and domestic violence overlaps. Yeah, good night, brand 12-1. You have the MS, the self-harm and other harm, with a Swiss. You know, before you say the word and next thing they nip me right there. But you know how some of those love triangles end. And a boom boom stick makes that whole wrapping up the whole process a lot easier. You see, when guys know, because those things do happen now, they are attempts. But if a guy now is trying to close off his whole life and he wants to off the children, the wife and himself, it becomes a lot harder if you have to do it analog. If you have to do it analog, it becomes harder. But if you have it on auto, it will level out eventually. Abdul, I actually do believe that. 2 years now I pass economic. Good for you, Orlando. I actually do believe that. I think, though, there would be some growing pains. And I'm laughing already because I know it's not something to laugh at. That's why I'm laughing. What a messed up way your mind works sometimes, eh? But the growing pains may be people dying. And if you pass some gun laws, and in 5 years there are 300 people, that's a very high number. In 5 years there are 300 people that die seemingly directly related to legal firearms. But the illegal firearm death rate dropped to less than 100. So if you do a net equation there, you're actually losing less lives to guns by the year. That may be a logical statement, but the 300 deaths due to legal firearms it won't feel logical to those families and to those people. So for me, roly-poly, the one and only asks, is it worth it? Was the investment worth the reward? I would say it's worth it. Personally, I would say it's worth it. You're not going to hear any horror stories about me and my family. I'm not worried about what I might do to my family. I'm more concerned about what some of those other people may want to do to my family. And I'd prefer have the protection for it. Man could go on the range and release some steam with a Good Friday Boboli. Yeah, that is something too. And I mean, this is when we get ruled by effeminate cultures, yeah. Because some of these things are very masculine and necessary. You know how much better it is. You feel a little angry, a little anger pent up somewhere, and you go out on the range and blast away something. Or even if you could go out in your backyard and you have a backyard suited for such, and blast something where it's likely and possible. Yeah. Why not? I didn't say 300,000, I said 300, not 300,000. 300,000 is a lot. I said 300. Because if we have a murder rate per year of 600, that in 5 years, that's what? 3,000. And if in 5 years we lose 300 to legal firearms, but that murder rate went down to 200 per year, so across the 5 years, that's 2 5s, 1,000. 1,000 plus the 300 legal firearm deaths. 1,300. 1,300 is a lot less than 3,000. Would that be a good trade-off? Some legal firearm deaths, yes. But much less murders. Much less home invasions. Much less kidnappings. Road rage will take a few. I do actually feel so. Well, maybe, yeah, maybe. Because there are some people that really over the edge. But you have to be someone that should be in a mental institute anyhow. Like, no amount of road rage making me crash out and give up my 3 points. Like, you give me a bad drive, I blow my horn long, but from the time I see you stop, I want to make this into a real thing and a thing. I gone. So I have a family home to go and hug up. I go and dead in the road over a no indicator drive. You have to be a fool, man. You have to be a fool. The road rage might get me, not gonna lie. Ronnie, something I've noticed, women are worse at road rage. I once heard someone explain this. They were saying it's because there isn't the threat of violence to women. So as a man, if you overdo it on this road rage, as I said, this whole thing going to get real and somebody had a crash out on the highway here. Women don't see it like that. They don't see that this is going to run up to a certain level and get real out of hand. So they're always willing to run it up to that level. Driving down, pulling on people, showing middle finger, cussing people about their mother, wind down the window by them at the lights. Like, bro. Sis, relax, sis. It's not that. The worst thing as a fella is to drive as a passenger princess to one of these road rage women, eh? That is thing to put you up. Because if she pull up on a fella, on people by the lights and start to cuss them, and they jump out to beat somebody, she cashing checks that your face gonna, she am writing checks that your face gonna have to cash. Ronnie, I don't blame him. I am not riding with any road rage sistren. I am not riding with any road rage sistren. You not going to cuss me into a beat up on the highway. And we know how things are these days. Somebody bound to record this. somebody, but you not going to cuss me into becoming a viral beat up on the highway video. Don't do me that. Let me don't reach there. I not drive. From the time you start to show people middle finger and thing and you drop me, I'll get a taxi. Don't worry. Don't beat up. Don't beat up. You go strong. Go strong, go long. Just go without me. Cause a viral beat up on the highway. Listen, that wouldn't look good. And my mustache kinda noticeable. People will make me out. And I'm going through that. But yeah, I don't want to believe that there would be a very large number crashing out on the highways over road rage. The way I see it, the kind of person that would be willing to murder another person over road rage is the kind of person that is kind of willing to do that now. So it's not that's why I say it's not impossible, because there are instances where people reach to the road rage extent where they're literally trying to crash you off the road and thing. But that's a very, very, very rare thing. It's not a common thing where people reach to a road rage level that they're willing to end it all and throw away their 3 points for it. I don't think that's going to be so common. And a point that I regularly make is a lot of the criminals now that seem like they're so willing to do crime and all of that, it's because they're criminals. That's the life they live. If you are a clerk too in the Ministry of Local Government, you are not a lifelong criminal. You don't live and exist in the alternate social circles of the underworld, where you have places to lime and eat and drink and chill without ever being around police or around people who would notice you like that. That's how criminals live. If you're not a criminal, you're a clerk too, Ministry of Local Government, and you driving down the highway in your vehicle that you're still paying off a loan for. So the bank and the license office and everybody on the grammar know your name tied to that vehicle. You going to get in some tangle and pull out a piece and blast somebody, you're not going to get away with it. You're not going to get away with it. So I just don't think that's something that the average person is going to do. You run up on a criminal, they may try to do it because they live being a criminal already. But as a law-abiding citizen, to throw yourself into the life of an outlaw, I don't think many people are just willingly going to flippantly throw away their 3 points like that. I just don't think it's a thing. I really don't. At least I don't want to believe so too. Government seeks, one more story before we dive out here. Government seeks $3.1 billion increase in expenditure. The government is proposing to increase expenditure for this fiscal year by an additional $3.1 billion, with significant increases allocated to the Ministries of Health, Education, Works and Transport, Public Utilities and Public Administration. The 2025 budget, which was presented on September 20th, 2024, had a total expenditure of $59.7 billion with revenue of $54.2 billion, resulting in a fiscal deficit of $5.5 billion. This proposed increase will push expenditure to just under $63 billion. The government has not yet pronounced on a revision of revenue. The proposed increase in expenditure was revealed during today's Standing Finance Committee meeting in the House of Representatives prior to Wednesday's mid-year budget review. The largest share of this increase will be directed to the Ministry of Health. The ministry had received an allocation of $7.5 billion in 2025. The second largest increase is designated for the Ministry of Public Utilities, which has been allocated $3.2 billion in the budget. Following this, the Ministry of Education will see an increase of 455 million. The Ministry of Public Administration will receive an increase of 325 million, while the Ministry of Works and Transport 325 million. Additionally, the Ministry of Digital Transformation will be allocated an increase of 130 million, and the Office of the Prime Minister will receive 128 million. The Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government will be granted an increase of 122 million. Money, 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 money. Money. The money start to spend. Now, I think we need money in the Ministry of Digital Transformation. There's a lot out there to be digitally transformed. I don't know what it's going to in those other ministries. I really don't. I really don't. And I guess the current government would say that the last government bad spent the budgetary allocations. That's why they need more. And okay, that might very well be true. But if it's not, and it's just that this current government has a more expensive taste in running the country, would that be sustainable? The monies are for recurrent expenditures. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that. So you think that all of that would have been the same regardless of which party took governance? Because if it's recurrent expenditure, then regardless of which government took office, they would have had to spend that. Okay. We will see come next budget. Sparky, what do you forecast? If you were to put an educated guess out there into the zeitgeist, what would you guess? Do you think that this UNC government is going to have a budget with a lower spending than the PNM government, or a budget with higher spending? If you had to guess, what do you think? Which direction do you think they would go? I look into dive out just now, boy Sparky. I look into dive out just now. Higher spending. I think so too. I think so too. Now, the balancing act of that is if through your higher spending, you facilitate greater revenues also, then the higher spending can be justified. But do we think so? Do we forecast that the Trinidad and Tobago state is going to be receiving significant increases in revenue anytime soon? Abdul says, but where's the revenue increase coming from? I don't know. I don't know. The economy is in a tailspin and economic activity needs restarting. Okay. Okay. It's widely a widely viewed thing that government spending is a go-to measure for inflation. And if we're deficit spending, I think that's even more inflationary. I would think if we're spending money that we have to borrow and repay, all that money needs to be spent on crucially important things that will have benefit in revenue. The government has not been paying their debt, so the economy is stalling. Their debts to who? You mean their debts to vendors, as in companies that did work for the government and the government owes them, or debts as in to debtors, as in financial institutions? Because I don't know. We will see, you know, Sparky. We will see. And I hope your defense is justified. By paying recurrent expenditures, a lifeline is granted to the economy. Sparky, that one sounds shaky to me. Recurrent expenditures aren't a good thing for the economy. That's not what grows your economy. Recurrent expenditures from the government. No. And if that's the model you want, you're looking for that Tobago life, where the government employs everybody in the country. That's not how you get success. And if the UNC government is attempting to mimic from the United States and Doge and Trumpy Boy and what they did over there, they fired public servants. They're having a contraction in the public sector labor market, while they're having a boom in the private sector labor market. Without spending, no taxes are earned. Are you talking about taxing the salaries that you pay out? Because if you're talking about recurrent expenditure, most of that would be salaries. Are you saying that the government makes money by paying these people a salary and then these people pay the government back some of it in taxes? Because that makes no sense to me. That sounds like spinning money in a circle and losing some while you do it. So, I don't know about that, Sparky. I don't know how recurrent expenditures would help. But anyway, that's all I have for now. We're looking to hopefully have a nice consistent week, and on time week. So I'll see you guys again for the next Mindful Live tomorrow evening. Until then, people, hold it down. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. I am Nathan Springer. This has been the Mindful Live. Until the next one, people, laters. But how did we not know this was going to happen? 9 new ministries, 9 new PS. Girl, it's the nature of the game. I wish so too, Trini. I wish so too. Be mindful, not mindless. Peace.